This is episode 27.5 of Stay on Topic, and we are going back to the bunker. Grab the kid, grab the wife, grab the husband. If you're me, grab the dog. This is our second bunker episode of Stay on Topic, where we asked everybody on the internet what 5 TV series they cannot live without. And that will be revealed by the man to my left, man who never takes hand-me-down paper towels, Bob Ricotta.
I'm just hoping you didn't create a War of the Worlds situation by opening with the air horn.
It's going to spook Lord Buffington.
Yeah, how many people have already run out of their houses? And
I hope at least some.
I hope there's some minor looting due to our podcast.
And his left, a man who Rex Tillerson would never refer to as a fucking moron, James Post.
Oh, I think he would.
Yeah. And probably has.
Maybe.
He's heard the podcast.
I'd like to think so.
He was one of our 36 listeners for the previous episode. And I'm Chris Gill, a man who looks like a mosquito with gas after a large meal. So, guys, it's true. So, very, very bad week, just all around. Start off with the obvious: the worst mass shooting or mass murder in U.S. history, at a Las Vegas concert. Yes, James, you're pointing.
No, I'll get to it after we get into it. But there's a point I want to make about that intro, actually.
The air raid siren or the intro to the worst shooting in U.S. history?
That one.
Okay. It was really, really bad.
Yes, it was.
Last I know, it was 59 dead.
I've been seeing both 58 and 59, like even in stories today. So I'm really not sure.
Today being 4 days after the event.
Yes.
And 500 plus injured.
Yes.
By somebody factored it out. 1 in 38 people took a bullet.
Yeah.
Which is just utterly, utterly terrifying. But the point you wanted to make?
Well, no, and I don't want to downplay the horror or the tragedy of this, but I actually saw a short post, and I can't remember if it was the Washington Post or if it was someone else, but it was posted to Twitter, and it was an explanation of why they are referring to this as the worst mass shooting in modern American history. And it's because the worst mass shootings in American history, obviously outside of war,
Right.
were in around the turn of the century, when the Klan would go into black neighborhoods and just purge them, kill 100, 200 people at a time. Those were by far the worst mass shootings in American history, but that's not really the same kind of thing that we're talking about now. But they don't want to not acknowledge that.
But it puts us in cements the fact that we live in a world where you're just not safe in a school, in a place of worship, at a concert, at a movie theater. And this incident in Las Vegas was particularly sinister because the shooter could not be reached for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And he basically had a modified stock on his rifle to make it an automatic weapon. Elevated position, shooting down into a crowd. The most sinister thing I could imagine.
Yeah, and no real interest apparently in who he was killing.
No.
Just a desire to kill a large number of people.
No, I'm not going to mention his name. I don't think the shooter's name needs to be mentioned. Let him die in anonymity. But it's bad enough that even the NRA is taking a look at the bumper stocks that are used to turn, regular rifles into automatic weapons.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, say what you will about the NRA, but Jesus, it's a start. It's something.
Yeah. And it's, those have gotten around ATF regulations by being not a mechanical internal modification to the weapon.
Yep.
And so there have been, some sort of opinions out of the ATF. Somebody posted a letter that was written by the ATF. One of the people companies that manufacture these things has a letter on their website with an opinion from the ATF that their products are acceptable because they're not an internal modification to the weapon that makes it an automatic weapon. It's just a external thing you stick on there that happens to make it operate like an automatic weapon. But yeah, it feels like there's some consensus that at least is probably going to go away.
But man, you take what you can get out of it.
It's so many times something like this happens and there's no change at all. So even something that small, at least it's an acknowledgement that things have to change.
And the thing that I walk away from something like this with is there was one horrible madman, but how many acts of heroism, how many acts of selflessness, have been reported out of this incident? People taking bullets to protect strangers, a lot of, we want to see the worst in the world. We want to see the worst in humanity because it's right there and it's easy. But there are a lot of acts of anonymous heroism and decency for every one act of horribleness. So that's kind of what I have to take away from this, because, anything else just makes me want to go sit in my room and just weep.
Yeah, it's tough to fathom that this would occur to anybody. Like,
yeah. And it's always so frustrating to me. And I know there are exceptions, but it seems like in so many, the majority of these cases, all you end up with at the end is the corpse of the shooter. And you never really have the opportunity to get any understanding of what caused it. And I'm not sure that helps anyone. I'm sure it doesn't help the victims, but as just somebody on the outside, I feel like I want to understand what happened. And that's so hard when these people so often just kill themselves at the end.
Yeah. And,
but at the same time, in the case of the Aurora, Colorado shooter, he survived. He went on trial. We never learned anything useful from that.
No, not at all.
About his mindset or how to prevent this.
There's just something wrong with our society. You don't find it en masse anywhere else, and it's really troubling. And how do you fix that? I have no answer.
I don't think you fix it, because it is the act of someone who is deeply, deeply sick. You can't see it any other way. This guy had something broken in his brain. You can't fix that because it's an anomaly of nature. All you can do is minimize the damage these people can do. You can't outlaw humans, so let's look at outlawing the things that the humans are using to kill 59 people.
You could start by taking the stigma out of mental illness.
Oh, there's a ton you can do to mitigate it. You can really upgrade our mental health system and how we as a society look at mental health issues.
And that's not going to happen, especially after the budget that Congress passed.
Not so much. No.
That, ladies and gentlemen, was called a segue.
Yeah.
He's a pro.
I've been doing this 27 and a half times. Today Congress approved a $4.2 trillion budget that slashes Medicare, Medicaid, practically every human health service you can think of, and gives tax breaks to the upper tax brackets. So yeah, this is exactly the kind of shit that everybody was afraid of and got through Congress.
So now
off to the Senate.
Oh, okay. It got through the House.
Got through the House.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is this Senate's going to be a whole different ball of wax?
Is this one of those things that needs a 60 or a 50 vote?
Well, it only passed Congress 216 to 209. It was a razor thin margin.
Yeah, and it would need 60. I mean,
Okay, it's dead. It's dead.
It's not reconciliation. It needs 60.
Then it's dead.
Yeah.
They can't get 60 senators to agree on anything.
But the fact that more than half of the elected leaders in the House of Representatives is like, yeah, this is cool.
Yeah.
More sad news. Tom Petty.
Yeah.
That one caught everyone off guard. Tom Petty died at the age of 66.
66.
Yeah.
One of the great American rock icons. You can't begin to try to sum up his career, but Bob, I think you can probably come the closest.
Just basic, good basic rock and roll with a little bit of a Southern twang, but not, Allman Brothers or Leonard Skinner. Just, classic rock, basically.
Just so fundamentally American.
Yes.
Much of what we consider classic rock is either British or British influenced. And Petty was just so this is American music. None of that was really there in his oeuvre.
No, despite the collaborations he did with the Wilburys and a ton of British artists, and the British artists wanted to work with him, which was super cool. But terrific songwriter.
Yeah, I mean,
talk about telling a story with song.
I don't know that Tom Petty will ever be on any list of top 100 musicians or songwriters, but he had a distinctive sound. He had that voice. You can't duplicate that voice. And it just made good music you want to drive down the road to or listen to at a party. I would assume first ballot Hall of Famer. It did not shake me to the core like Prince's death, which was
stunning.
Yeah, stunning. But I was definitely saddened. I feel like. And he was still touring. He toured this summer.
Mm-hmm.
He toured near us this summer.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes this, hit a little harder is the feeling that, his career wasn't over.
Right.
Oh, heavens no.
Yeah.
And now in the past it was always your Jimi Hendrixes and your Janis Joplins and your Jim Morrisons. Now it's people that I grew up listening to. Yeah. I feel like I'm moving forward and the earth behind me is crumbling, and my bits of my childhood are falling into the abyss every day.
That's, what I appreciate is the way you can raise the tone. It's one of the many things you bring to this ensemble.
I do lighten the podcast considerably with my mirth.
Also passing this last week was Robert Yates. Legendary engine builder. His engines were in everything from Le Mans winning prototypes and GTs to the NASCAR Winston Cup Series proper. Later went on to become a car owner. Davey Allison won a bunch of races before he died for Robert Yates. Ernie Irvan got his in, and Dale Jarrett delivered Yates' first championship.
Yep.
So, legendary guy. There aren't quote unquote engine builders anymore in racing like there used to be. And he was one of the last of his breed.
Yeah.
So it was really sad to see him go. And even more sad than all that, people starving and dying of thirst in Puerto Rico.
But now they have Bounty to clean up their
cup. They have the paper towels to clean this shit up now. Thank God.
Yeah.
My house is at 3 feet of water, but I've got a roll of paper towels to sop it up. I'm fine.
That was probably the biggest debacle of Trump's presidency.
You think?
I think so.
At this point, it's just being covered as humor.
On our last podcast, we were talking about that there's no such thing as punching down for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He'll pick a fight with anybody, including the mayor of San Juan.
Yeah.
Who he got in a Twitter war with.
Yeah.
I mean,
she's got time for that.
Yeah. She's trying to hold together a country that has been a city that's been obliterated. And, and he's using her as a foil. Who's advising this guy?
I'm sure plenty are. He's just choosing to ignore every bit of advice.
And
you know, that kind of segues into another thing that I thought was fun this week was Bob Corker, senator from Tennessee, was answering questions and was saying that General Kelly, the chief of staff, and some of the other people around Trump are basically separating America from chaos. You know, coming from a Republican senator, like these are the people protecting us from his worst instincts.
It's not funny. It's not funny.
No, it's not anymore.
No, it's chilling now.
The part I find the most chilling is that in every poll, there is about 25 to 35% who still like the job he's doing, who thinks he's doing a good job. That's the mindset I don't get.
Yeah, that probably scares me more than anything.
How can you be
does.
so loyal to a cult of personality that you will turn a blind eye to what can only be called sheer incompetence?
I don't get it.
I don't either. I would like to think if whatever the liberal counterpart of Donald Trump were in office, I would call bullshit on him at some point.
Yeah. Well, Clinton
Was a good president who made
who
had a couple serious character flaws.
Yeah, no, definitely had character flaws, but he wasn't shit at his job.
No.
Not a hot take. I don't think there is a parallel for this.
Not in America, I don't think.
No.
Many thought John Tyler was a complete stooge, but he had enough adults around him that and he wasn't so brash that he would try to force his will on him. They were like, no, let's do this, and he would do it. And that's kind of how they got around that. He married his 14-year-old cousin while in office.
You sure that wasn't Jerry Lee Lewis?
No,
He was never president, strangely enough.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Although
you
if he ran.
draw lines to Berlusconi in Italy.
Yeah.
But even that, he had some management skills. That's how he got in charge. He was just, a complete
loon
in his in his handling of his personal life. And so, yeah, again, I just don't think there is any parallel. It's a guy who would go visit an island where 95% of people don't have power, and not understand why they would be handing out flashlights because it was daylight.
Tell me that really didn't happen. Is that a real thing?
There's footage of him handing out flashlights, and he's like, "Why are we doing? You don't need them. You don't need them anymore."
Yeah, that's where we're at. Nothing really pop culture wise stuck out.
I did just want to throw a note out because it's me, and nobody cares. Actually, I've watched the first 3 episodes of the new Star Trek series, which is only available.
Yeah.
I'm paying the $7 a month for the CBS streaming service to watch this one show, and actually really enjoying it so far. And I honestly think non-Trek fans would enjoy it.
There he goes. He's trying again. It's adorable when he tries to get us into Star Trek.
It's not a story about a future where everybody's happy, and it's a story about the sort of dark side of Starfleet and military experiments, and from the perspective of a lower ranking crew member who can't really trust her captain.
Wow, that is new.
So it's Battlestar Galactica,
and it's certainly influenced by that.
Okay.
But no, so far I've only seen 3 episodes, but so far I'm as a Trek fan, I'm enjoying it, and I'm feeling like, that it could bring in people who aren't, other than the fact that it's sort of isolated on the platform that it's on. CBS did report that they have doubled their subscriptions to their streaming service since that started.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. Next week, a game I've been anticipating for 4 years drops finally. Shadow of War.
Yeah.
Or sorry, Middle Earth, Shadow of War.
You don't want to admit that it's a Lord of the Rings game?
God, you don't even remember it's a Lord of the Rings game while you're playing until they force a cutscene on you, and then you're like, oh yeah, this is a Lord of the Rings game.
Yeah.
Because the action is so good, the combat's so great. Hope for good things out of that. So that's what I'm looking forward to next week. What about you, Bob? Anything?
No, nothing comes to mind.
I'm not looking forward to anything.
Well, we have Ragnarok the first week of November.
Yeah. And I think the CW drops their superhero shows in about 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay, so 2 or 3 weeks to get caught up.
Yeah, and I think the new X-Men TV show dropped this week.
Last week.
Last week? So I'm going to catch that on Hulu at some point.
I've actually heard good things.
If it's even half as good as Legion, then it's going to be a good time.
That's another interesting pop culture note. Something that as soon as I heard that it was a possibility, I said, that is a terrible idea. The Blade Runner sequel, Blade Runner 2049, right now is sitting at 95% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
I know.
It's one of the highest rated things on Rotten Tomatoes.
We've got to go.
I don't know. I was never a huge Blade Runner fan. I appreciated it for the visuals.
It's 2 hours and 43 minutes.
Yep, definitely not going to the theater.
And getting great critical reviews.
Yeah, I'll wait till Ragnarok. That's my next theater outing.
Yeah, probably for me too.
All right.
But I think I might check out Blade Runner sequel when it comes out on Blu-ray.
For sure. Yeah, I'll give it a watch. I just don't want to pay to sit still.
For somebody who thought it was heresy when it was first announced, you know.
Oh, everybody did. Everyone had. Who's the screenwriter? Do we know? Oh, yeah. Okay.
The writer, I think there are like 3 writers on it, but I don't remember who.
Also looking forward to the Petit Le Mans.
I want to punch you in the nuts every time you say that.
It's the worst goddamn name for a race in America I've ever heard. Not just in America. It's outside of Atlanta.
Yeah.
That was a head scratcher. But it's the season finale for the IMSA WeatherTech series, which is great. And on the same day, we'll get the Bathurst 1000 on the mountain. The V8 supercars. They're fun. Let's get into our main topic, because everyone's shaking their heads.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like V8 supercars.
And at Bathurst, have you ever seen the track layout?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
we were almost there, people. We were almost there.
Main topic. We're going back into the bunker. These are the 5 TV series that you cannot live without, that you have to grab off your DVD shelf after the bombs drop before you dive into the bunker. We hit up the socials. What we'll do is we'll hit up the ones that showed up a lot. And then if there are any really unique ones, we'll give credit where
we're not going to. There's a lot of repeats.
A ton. Like I've never seen on one of our lists before. A lot of people were tripping over the same.
Yeah. And it's not surprising that we are friends with people who like things we like.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Well, and they don't feel the same obligation to be original that we have as sort of entertainers here either. They're just kind of saying what they think, whereas I'm looking at that list and thinking, oh, I can't repeat anything on that list, even though I did.
Well, I don't. The main thing with the bunker lists that kind of separates them from all the other lists that we do is there's a strategy involved with bunker lists. And I think a lot of people interpret it as, oh, my favorite. No, you've got to get through nuclear winter. Minimum 20 years. You're going to need some shit to watch. And people pick their favorite, and they may have had short series runs or, a lot of half-hour comedies. And it's like, people, you're going to be used up in the first 6 months. But yeah, some of the ones that really repeated an awful lot were Sopranos. Sons of Anarchy came up a ton.
Yeah. Some of our friends have really bad taste.
Cheers, MASH,
West Wing,
Game of Thrones,
Simpsons. I'm going to read some of the ones that I surprised me. One One of my friends said Faulty Towers, and Jack Benny.
That's an awful short run, though. Faulty Towers was not long.
Well, maybe he's going for quality over quantity.
Okay.
That's, if you want a long run, you got to go with your Are You Being Served or,
General Hospital.
Yeah, well, I was going for the British thing, but
Will and Grace, Stargate SG-1, and one of my favorites on this.
That's a long run, and
who chose...
it's so unfortunate that it was.
Who's Stargate?
My friend Pat Haggerty. He's
Okay.
one of my gaming friends, and he also picked. And this is one of my favorite entries. Kolchak, the Night Stalker.
Okay,
Huh.
I mean, I don't know if that ran more than 2 seasons because I was 4 when it came out, but I remember enjoying it and scaring the shit out of myself.
Seinfeld came up. I saw a lot.
Yeah, and
I was never a fan anyway, and I just don't see the sort of repeatability of that. That's something else you kind of want.
Seinfeld did not age well. Seinfeld pulled off a great trick at the time because you'd watch it thinking you liked the characters, and then after rewatching, you're like, these people are assholes. I can't.
And I guess that's the thing is I was just a step ahead. I thought they were all assholes the first time.
Okay. I guess because of the time it came out, you're trained to instantly identify with the protagonist in a sitcom.
Yeah, and I get exactly what you're saying. Like they played off of that.
Yeah. But now we live in a post It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia world.
Yeah.
Where, Always Sunny took the Seinfeld formula and just pushed it. Where these people are just openly you just dislike them. Whereas Seinfeld was sneaky. So now you rewatch Seinfeld and you're like, these people are assholes. I don't care what happens to them. They deserve every bad thing that happens to them. So
yeah, I'm assuming next is a sitcom about like mob enforcers or
Rick and Morty
neo-Nazis.
Too soon?
Give it time. It'll be on the FX network.
Rick and Morty made the list.
Nice. Who chose that?
My stepson Jake.
Relatively young. What, 3 or 4 seasons?
Yeah, but it's really good. It's
really good, but again, awful short.
And got to give credit to Andrea for picking Golden Girls.
That's a funny show.
My wife was pushing Golden Girls on me, actually.
I enjoy Golden Girls. It will probably not make any list.
The writing is really fucking good.
Yeah,
it's super sharp.
Is it me or is Rue McClanahan?
Totally.
Okay.
Well, it's funny how young all of those actresses really were compared to what they were playing when that show started.
Yeah.
And considering how long most of them lived or have lived after its end.
Some other ones that really stuck out on my end were the first 8 season of Scrubs. The 9th never happened. That
Good
according
call.
to Charlie Crable.
Good call.
John Simcoe had the most unique list, and it after I discussed it with him, it helped formulate part of my strategy for my bunker list. He chose Quantum Leap, Super Friends. It's Simcoe. America's Funniest Home Videos, and Days of Our Lives. With AFHV and Days of Our Lives, there is a shitload of content there.
Yeah.
And his justification was, I've never seen Days of Our Lives. I'm going to need a lot of stuff to watch. 5 days a week, there was a Days of Our Lives episode.
For 30, 40?
Yeah. So it's like,
so he's got content.
Yeah, he really took the strategy of the bunker list, and that still doesn't explain a couple of them. The Wire. A couple of people chose Wire.
Sure.
Paul Peters took Monty Python's Flying Circus.
Good choice.
Good choice. I don't know if there's enough content there. He also chose Buck Rogers in the 25th century.
Odd.
Very curious. Can't wait to see him to talk about.
My friend Scott, another great choice, Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah, that was. I saw that. I was like, yes.
I feel like that's almost cheating, but
Why? I mean, it was
because it's a secondary packaging of movies, and this isn't a movie list. But whatever.
okay. I thought it was a brilliant.
I liked it. I just don't know how well it would go. Like, I would have to space them out. I couldn't just binge watch a whole bunch of. I'd have to space them out.
But you got time.
No, we're that. Handsome fella named James Arthur Gill chose WKRP, Hill Street Blues, St. Elsewhere. Who else we got? We have Lord Buffington.
Da, 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 da.
Ba-ba-ba.
Chose Bonanza. Charlie's Angels.
Wow.
Yeah.
That fits into 2 categories.
That's... it was
No, it only fits into one.
Or no, that wasn't... Wrong guy. That was Andrew Hamilton.
Okay.
I saw Andrew Tunn and... Yeah, okay.
Really?
Yep.
We fanfared
yeah,
for no
we-
reason?
Lord Buffington.
We have to
Da,
start
da, da, da.
over.
Start the whole goddamn
Shut
thing
it down.
Shut it down.
Eric Hoffman chose Baywatch to help with the loneliness.
David Hasselhoff. Dreamy.
Yeah, no, just so many repeats. Futurama was thrown out there by Jason Cox, which I really thought was nifty. Yeah, boy, there's a lot of crossover.
Yeah.
Another good one. It will surprise you. Stacey Wilkins chose Saturday Night Live, which I thought was a really smart pick for a bunker list.
That's a lot of content. That's an
Lot
hour
of
and a
content.
half.
Hour and a half. You get music thrown in there. Each episode's a little time capsule.
But 40% of them are bad. So
I'd
Yeah,
go higher
that's-
than that, actually.
Yeah,
but
that's the problem. Jack Kellogg chose The Newsroom, which
content or
just so short.
yeah.
yeah.
It's fantastic. He also chose Ken Burns' The Civil War. I don't know how many times he plans on watching that over and over.
And then followed by Ken Burns' The Apocalypse.
Frasier was another one that got thrown about a lot, as was Big Bang Theory. I don't know
Oh,
why.
God.
Don't see the attraction, but
No.
but we're not here to judge our audience.
I thought that was exactly why we were here.
That's it. Now we have.
If we're not judging our audience, I'm turning this thing off now.
Speaking of judging, Lord Buffington actually
Da,
did,
da, da, da.
actually did choose Law and Order, Cops, and Top Gear, the good one. He's got a fetish for cop shows.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. SVU, Criminal Minds, Kim Sapone-Ben's Impractical Jokers. It's a funny show,
Yeah.
just not a lot of episodes there to. One Sarah Blackwell, who helped inform another one of my picks, chose Doctor Who and Firefly. I don't think you could get on two weirder ends of the spectrum in
Yeah.
terms of number of episodes.
Yeah.
1,000,004.
And Danielle Gill chose Roseanne in the U.S. office. Knows where the. Yep, those were the
you
only
don't
ones
pick
that
the
really
U.S.
stuck out.
version of anything where there's a British version. You just don't. That's why I can't watch Veep. Because
Really?
the British version was so much better.
Oh God, you're one of those dicks. All right, let's get into the picks, Bob.
How can you watch a show like that and not have Malcolm Tucker yelling "cunt" every 5 minutes? That was the whole draw. Of the British version.
I think that was the final frontier. The C word had yet to be dropped on our show.
James always doesn't the dirty words first too. Every time. You have to one up him.
We're through the looking glass, people. All right, so for number 5, might as well get the obvious out of the way. Breaking Bad ran from 2008 to 2013. There are 62 episodes. It was produced by Vince Gilligan, who cut his teeth on the X-Files. It was the winner of 16 Primetime Emmys. Bryan Cranston won 4 lead actor Emmys. Aaron Paul won 3 supporting actor Emmys. So the pedigree. I mean,
Appeal to authority.
pardon.
I'm pointing out your logical flaws.
It's just a good show. It's well written. It is a show that is so well written that they take this man who is a monster, a meth dealer who has killed people, watched people die, innocent people, and they make him likable. They make him a sympathetic character at the end. It is a master stroke of writing. It's a master
Spoilers.
I'm sorry. It ended in 2013. People should have caught up by now. Yeah, the acting is top notch from top to bottom. The supporting characters, the minor characters, the characters that are on for 2 episodes, the foreshadowing they do at the beginning of a season where they'll show an eyeball floating in a pool and then they pay it off 13 episodes later and you figure out what that's from. It is. I don't know many people who would disagree that it's definitely one of the best shows to hit TV.
It's almost the perfect television series. Perfectly, I mean, just meticulous. So well done. Didn't make my list because it has too many holy shit moments. And once you get beyond the holy shit moments, does the build-up really pay off like it did the first time around?
I've rewatched it. It holds up because there are other things that you see. Because you're too caught up the first time in the holy shit moments. There are little cookies, there are Easter eggs that they drop in there that pay off in minor ways that you notice.
Yeah, that was just such a big draw to the show. Like, oh my God, what's going to happen to so-and-so? How are they going to get away from so-and-so?
Right.
And once you get beyond those big holy shit moments, to me, it's really tough to get back. But right. I agree. It is one of the best. If we were doing the best television shows, it'd be in my top 5. No problem. I just don't know how many times I could revisit it. And it's got a pretty short run.
60 episodes, 62 episodes.
Yeah. I mean, and the final season was broken into 2 because AMC are pricks.
Yeah. And I think there were a couple extended episodes Yeah.
So brilliant show.
And you've never seen it?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Well,
judging you. What do you got, James?
Well, I guess I will start with Doctor Who.
That is also my first pick. You go.
Well, you're talking about a show that started in 1963. Nearly 900 episodes. Those are just counting the ones that are available.
Yeah, I've got 839.
That's not the number I found. So there may be some dispute.
Either way, you get 800 plus episodes.
Yes. But there are missing episodes, which is one of the odd things about the series. And it's something you'll have to deal with in your bunker. There may be times when there's stuff you're not going to be able to watch because it was never preserved, because the BBC was terrible about that. They would just reuse tape, or tapes would just burn. But no, it's 900 episodes, 800 episodes, whatever it is.
Either way,
spanning basically 265 discrete stories, because in the original run, sometimes a story would be 12 episodes.
Right.
And spanning 50 years, from really cheesy early stuff, which is like, sci-fi B movies, all the way up to the relaunch in 2005, where they made it more gritty, and it's much, it's modern television now. You've got all of that for whatever mood you're in.
And the reason I chose it, one, was the Simcoe effect. I've seen 3 or 4 episodes of The Tenant Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I've never seen a full season. This is all brand new content to me. I'm going to have new content in my bunker to watch, which how many people can say that? The shows all of those television
What if it turns out you hate it?
What else do I have to do? I don't have much choice.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have your bunker albums and your bunker books and your bunker movies.
You'll learn to like it. It's like prison that way.
But yeah, I chose it half because of that. It's a thing with a lot of content I've never seen. And also, the other person who inspired me, just so many episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, you will never get bored.
Yeah.
So that was my reasoning. And
you might get bored a little bit in the early runs. They're a little slow.
Look at
But-
some of the actors who have come through Doctor Who
Yeah.
and gone on to do great things. How cool is that going to be? Holy shit, I know you from.
And just
There's a lot of potential.
I'm a
there.
fan, and more than half of it I have not seen,
Yeah.
and that's how extensive it is.
Super fans have, I mean, you've got to almost dedicate your life to that series to have seen every episode.
Yeah,
That's a lot of goddamn TV.
yeah.
Yes. What you got, Bob?
Well, coming in at number 4, and number 4, I didn't rank these, but
Yeah, same.
Game of Thrones. Surprise, surprise. It's a sweeping saga. I am a sucker for sci-fi and fantasy, so it hits that sweet spot. There's boobs galore. So, the spank bank's going to be full for years to come. Years to come.
Wow.
And of course, you're talking about Jon Snow's.
I've got to remember not to share this episode with my mom on Facebook.
I wouldn't share this chair with your mom.
Wow.
Anywho, what was I talking? Oh, Game of Thrones. So so many stories intertwining, so many characters.
It turned into a Reddit thread.
Tight storytelling. We've covered its flaws in the past, mostly due to production.
What if, I mean, not that there's any possibility of anything like this happening now, but what if the air raid sirens come soon
And we don't
and you're taking an incomplete Game of Thrones into your bunker?
You bring up an excellent point, and I would predicate this.
Fanfic.
I would predicate that this would have to be complete before I would take it. I would reject it for something else if we were lacking the last season. Or you're right, I could just write my own ending in my head.
There you go. And it'd be all boobs, all Daenerys.
How did Jon Snow get boobs?
But those are the kinds of things I was thinking about when I was putting my list together. Is at one point I was considering putting Murphy Brown on my list. I think we actually talked about that at one point, and it's not available. Like, I wasn't sure if it would count as a valid pick because,
this is all theoretical.
well, yeah, but at the same time, like,
Just having funsies, buddy.
it's never been distributed on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray. It's never going to be because there's different music licensing issues in every episode. They used a different R&B song as the theme song for every episode. So it's just not something you can buy. I don't know. I think about the logistics of these things when I'm putting these lists together.
We would have allowed it, and wow, thank you for that scary glimpse into your thought process.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones is one of the most captivating shows
Yeah,
probably ever on HBO, which is saying a lot.
And I know the 67 episode thing would probably be a sticking point for you, but it's just such high quality.
But another series, why it got bumped off my list, I know all the big moments. I know a lot of that fun is taken out of it. And it's still so fresh in my head. Like, I've probably seen each episode minimum 3 times. And, seasons 1, 2, and 3, probably more. So that's why it didn't make mine, but I can see why it made anybody's list. And if you've never seen it, James, it would be a great addition to your bunker.
Yeah, if they actually get around to finishing it and they don't ruin it at the end somehow, which does happen with these things.
Yeah.
I might go back and watch it.
What about your next pick, James?
My next pick is gonna surprise no one. Certainly no one in this room, since we've all shared our list. I had to have a Star Trek series on my list. I just did. And I know The Next Generation is the most obvious choice if I'm going to pick a Trek series. But the reality is that with the original run, the syndication, and streaming, I have seen every episode like 5 times. I know it too well for it to be entertaining anymore. And that's not the case with this pick, which is Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I have seen the full series, but with the exception of a few episodes, I've pretty much just seen it once. And it's, a full 7-season run, so not as long as some, but it's, 140, 150 some episodes.
Not bad.
And it's got a serialized storyline that, runs across multiple seasons, which I think works in its favor for something when you're going to be sitting down and watching for that long. And also sort of the occasional Trek goofiness, which I appreciate. And, variety just in terms of, it's set on a space station, but then later they realized, the writers realized, well, we've been stuck on the space station for 3-4 seasons. We need to have some other way to write stories. So then they give them their own starship and they start doing more traditional Star Trek episodes where they go off in the ship and they go to other planets.
Trekking.
Yes.
Across the
through
universe.
the stars.
Thank you.
And also, has an advantage over the Next Generation in that it just kind of goes to some, pretty dark and morally ambiguous places, considering it's Star Trek and was on broadcast TV. You've got a Star Trek captain assassinating a friendly ambassador to try and trick that ambassador's nation into joining the Federation side in a war.
Yeah, that's...
I'm sorry, Ricardo got Star Trek and stuck in my head now.
Yeah. So I'm just saying it's different. It's not, it's not your normal Star Trek. I think it's underappreciated and it's on my list.
All right. It's worse than that. He's dead, Jim.
Really? Dr. Demento has that much power over you?
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
It hits that little goofy nerve. Life, Jim, but not as real.
I'll punch you with the goofy.
I love that goddamn song. All right. And as much as I like to laugh, that's why South Park is my next pick to take in the bunker with me. 22 seasons, 289 episodes, and counting. It was a coin flip between this or The Simpsons. Duh. But South Park got more bite and fewer down swings than The Simpsons. Even though The Simpsons has more seasons, more episodes, boy, their down times are they're just not sharp. They're tough to sit through. South Park is consistent throughout. You're always going to get something biting and
75 poop jokes.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I just said Dr. Demento hits my goofy. I mean, you're talking to a 13, 14-year-old mentality here. So yeah,
and face.
Yes,
Boyishly handsome.
And bottom. So yeah, I know
I'm not sure what implication to put on that word, but moving on.
Freakishly hairless.
Yeah, I'll show you after the show. So yeah,
I thought you were declaring yourself as a bottom.
Power bottom, maybe.
Maybe. Depends on the circumstance. So yeah, South Park. Bob?
All right, I'm going to stick with the sitcom theme and go with Parks and Recreation. After the presidential election in 2016, I went to a very dark place, and
Your closet.
I needed something to pull me out of it, and Parks and Recreation was just the tonic I needed. It is a love letter to government, really. It shows government at its best. But more than that, it succeeds in making a group of characters that you care about and that care about each other and generally like each other, and good things happen to these people. It's wish fulfillment. It really is. You want to see the good things happen to good people. And that's what you get from Parks and Recreation. Yeah, it does have its satire. It does have a bite to it. But in general, the good guy wins. You know, the right people get married, and they triumph, and government can solve everyone's problems.
I've thoroughly enjoyed that series.
I love that series.
Yeah, it's one of the most earnest comedies I've ever seen.
And it was supposed to follow The Office, and the first season really followed The Office formula. Leslie Knope was almost a what's his name? Peter. No, not Peter.
I didn't watch The Office. I know who you're talking about.
Carell's character.
Michael Scott.
Michael Scott. You know, Leslie Knope was almost a Michael Scott clone, and the critics said so. And they did a course correction, and they hit the sweet spot. I mean, competent but spastic.
Mm-hmm.
They made Leslie Knope a great, memorable character.
And they could do mean comedy without it ever sounding mean.
Right.
The writers hit the right tone, and the perfect cast. Such a great cast.
Yeah.
And just the running jokes were so good and just stuck with you. It launched Chris Pratt's career. Now he's
Star-Lord.
I mean, he's basically a very funny Harrison Ford.
Okay.
For today's moviegoers. But yeah, I love Parks and Rec. James?
Okay. Well, I'm going to stick with the comedy, and in defiance of everything that Chris Gill just said, I'm going with The Simpsons. Even though its humor has sort of lost the sharpness of the early years, it's still never really been bad, at least in my opinion. I don't go out of my way to watch it. I don't have a way to watch it right now. But if it's on, I'll watch it. And there's lots of it to watch. There's 28 seasons, 618 episodes as of right now. And in that time, Homer has held roughly 200 different jobs.
You've been to the moon? You've never been.
There's plenty to choose from. Again, I think at its lowest, it's still watchable, more watchable than a lot of things on television. And if you want, you can always go back to the early classics. They're always going to be there.
The Dana Gould, Conan O'Brien years.
Yeah.
Those were so goddamn good.
Yeah.
Just super sharp and out there. Like they really went some weird places with that show for a while, and it worked. So yeah, I don't disparage anybody for taking Simpsons with them into their bunker. Just wasn't the right pick for me.
Yeah.
My next one is not funny at all. It's Mad Men. This is probably, as far as like art, this is the closest thing art gets to television series. It was 7 seasons, 92 episodes. Just so much shit going on in every episode. Every scene they put on there means something or pays off somewhere, and you're never sure in the moment what the hell it meant or where the payoff was going. It was a very slow burn, slow to reveal, but I could totally see myself spending a good 5 out of the 20 years of Nuclear Winter trying to figure out what each frame of that meant, what they were trying to do, what it's like the guy that got his foot cut off in the office by a John Deere lawnmower. I would like to spend some time thinking about why they put that scene in a TV series. So just did some really cool stuff that no series really ever tried before. And the art direction alone is fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would dig me on some Mad Men. I'd have to space it out. I wouldn't want to binge watch it because it kind of feels like you ruin it. Like, watch an episode here and there and let it marinate. And beautifully cynical. Like that finale was the most biting, cynical thing I've ever seen. It was perfect. What do you got, Bob?
Well, number 2 is probably no surprise to anyone who knows me. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It ran on 2 different networks from 1997 to 2003, 144 episodes, and yet only 1 Emmy nomination.
Oof.
And
What was that for? Do you know?
Do you know what it's for?
Is it?
I'm assuming for Once More with Feeling.
No,
Oh,
it is for
Oh, was it for Hush?
yes,
Okay.
an episode they did with almost no dialogue.
That's just a great episode of television.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
There's several really just standalone great episodes of television in Buffy. The Body.
Oh my god.
You'd have to pay me a significant amount of money to watch that episode again. It's an episode about death, like realistic death
And
in real time for an hour.
you really never notice the music in the background of a television episode until they take it out.
Yeah.
And there's no music, and it's just so stark and jolting.
Yeah.
But I mean, Buffy, you get 144 episodes. There are some clunkers. I will not.
Beer bad.
Yes, yes. But there's not a whole season of clunkers.
season 1.
Season 1 was world building.
Yeah.
It was world. It was.
I think it pays off in the end.
Yeah.
I didn't make it.
And just
Prophecy Girl is really where that show started in a way.
remind me.
The last episode of season 1.
Okay. All right. Joss Whedon just does a great job of taking a serious topic like the end of the world, demon hunting, and filters it through this teenage girl who just wants to live a normal life and find a date to the prom, but she can't because she's got to slay some hellspawn again. The Gift was amazing. The fact that I know the names of episodes, and I'm not that kind of guy.
I am that kind of guy.
Yeah, you are that kind of guy. It was just a great cast, great writing, great direction. Just a top-notch show. And it's
and with a musical built in case you need a musical.
Yes, Joss Whedon was willing to take chances, like write a musical episode. Like write an episode that has no dialogue,
and a diegetic musical episode.
I don't know what that word means.
As in, the music is not a metaphor for anything. We're watching people actually singing.
Yes, they're not
in their world. They are singing and don't know why. In a way that's different from your standard movie musical. You kind of assume that the musical numbers are representing something else.
Right. They're not part of the world.
Yeah.
They're in somebody's head or something. They take you out of reality.
Yeah.
Whereas Once More with Feeling, the singing is the reality. It's great. It's great. And I don't know if it stands alone. Like if you want to drop into Buffy there, I don't know if you'll get everything.
Yeah.
But it is
because I mean that episode. It's kind of, if we start talking about Buffy, that episode was made to pay off 6 other plot lines.
Yes, including the Buffy Spike plot line.
Yeah.
What? Watch it.
I've tried.
Yeah.
I have tried. I really have tried.
Okay. Well,
And season 1 is impossible to get through.
It's obviously not impossible because many people did.
It's tedious as hell.
all right.
Too formulaic.
Moving on.
What do you got, James?
And I will just say, obviously, as people could tell, I do love Buffy. It didn't make my list because I've just seen it too much again, it's just not fresh anymore for me.
It's still funky fresh though.
And here's where we get to the thing on my list that I'm really waiting to hear the response from you two guys because
The Emmanuel series from Cinemax.
no, I put something on my list that I'm about to say and got no reaction at all when I texted my list to Chris and Bob. And now I'm just waiting for the axe to fall. because next on my list is NCIS.
Yeah, I thought it was curious. I really was anticipating the explanation. Please.
Is that the one with Mark Harmon?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, not well. That answers it.
Who doesn't like Mark Harmon?
It's not bad for a procedural, but yeah, explain yourself. I don't.
In my notes, I'm actually calling it the unfrosted shredded wheat of television.
And it keeps you regular.
I think that's
Just
what
bring wheat germ.
I think that's what appeals to me about it is, I mean, there's a 15-year run continuing till today.
Holy shit.
And every episode, while
Features Mark
neither
Harmon.
inspiring nor groundbreaking, is completely inoffensive.
I see.
When so many things, you cannot get me to sit through an episode of Big Bang Theory. If there's something off about a show, something I don't like, it bothers me. So this is a show that, despite appealing primarily to people twice my age, just never bothers me. And I know that sounds like sort of damning with faint praise, but it's just a show that, if I sit down in front of a television and it's on, I will watch the episode to the end. And I like the characters. The characters are likable. There's always a good internal story for every episode. They never do anything really crazy except a couple of times. They killed off a major character and what was a real shock.
Are there story arcs, or is it just
there are some story arcs thrown in there, but it's mostly just episodic.
okay?
There'll be something that comes in and then it'll come back, at the end of a season to pay off or something.
But they're not chasing a season-long killer or something.
I think it happened once actually, with the killer it wasn't every episode, but it went through a full season, and it was actually played by
Please say someone from summer school.
no, why won't the name
Courtney Thorne's-
Richard Schiff. It was played by Richard Schiff.
Really?
Shit.
Who made a great villain.
Wow, I'll bet you he would. I've never seen him in a villain type role.
But yeah, and it's sort of forgettability plays to its favor, because I could probably watch every episode 5, 6, 7 times and not memorize it because there's not that much there. So I know that's a strange pick, but it's like, if I need to pass time, that's one of the components of what I'd be looking for.
That makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah. I get it now that you explain it. Next on mine, it only ran for 5 seasons, or only 85 episodes, but I cannot live without it. Arrested Development. It's the smartest comedy ever made.
No argument.
It's so dense with jokes. I've probably run through it 5 times, and I'm still catching jokes from season 1. Little signs off camera, or out of focus behind a character, that once the character walks by, the sign comes in, and just so brilliantly done. I can't live without it. I know there's not a lot there to go through, but
the rewatchability is off the charts.
So high. Oh my God. I would recommend anybody who hasn't seen it. Netflix basically owns the rights to it now because they're doing the continuation of it. So for God's sake, go watch it. Add it to your bunker list, and you're welcome.
What is the status? Is it in production?
We're getting another season next year.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's going to be great. What do you got, Bob?
Well, for my top pick, and it's not a top pick, my last pick is a quirky little show. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, called Northern Exposure.
Heard of?
Yeah. My parents used to watch it.
Same.
And I'm not disparaging it at all. I knew watching it as a kid that there was a lot there that I wasn't grasping.
So the basic premise of the show is that a doctor from New York gets an offer to have his college completely paid for if he spends the first 3 years of his career in this small town in Alaska being the town doctor. So it's basically, New York Jew in rural Alaska, but they make rural Alaska so quirky and lovable. And there's just a lot of characters that you fall in love with.
So many great character actors on that show.
Yeah, Rob Morrow, who played...
well, the mayor. I can't remember the actor's name, but he's been in everything, and he's just a great actor. Anyway,
it once again, the word smart comes up because it's smart TV. There are story arcs, but there's also there's a love interest between the doctor and this bush pilot whose boyfriends keep dying. One was killed by a falling satellite. Weird stuff. It went a little off the rails in its last season, but TV shows tend to do that. Northern Exposure, check it out. I don't know if it's on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime, but if you can find it at the library, it's worth a watch.
As I remember, there were whole episodes that were allegories and stuff. They did weird things with that show.
Yes. It was definitely before its time.
Yeah.
And I'm going to digress just a little. Do you guys remember the show Picket Fences?
I remember it existed.
Yeah. That's about it.
It almost made my list, but it got a little too preachy. But it's same premise about small town, quirky characters. And then Roy Walston was the judge.
Huh.
And he would hear cases that would mirror things happening in society, and they would do a really good job of presenting both sides. Five-ish Finkel played the lawyer, and who doesn't love them some Five-ish Finkel? Anyway, Northern Exposure, check it out.
Barry Corbin was the name I was trying to come up with.
Yes.
Great character actor. And a lot of great Native American actors.
Yep. And it ran into the same problem that you brought up with Murphy Brown. Is it had a lot of music that once it came to putting out the DVD, they didn't want to pay for the licensing for, so they just changed a lot of the music from the original music in the episodes to, I guess stuff that was cheaper or available. Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever watched the more recent DVD release of Sports Night.
Yes.
But they did that with that. They replaced all of the music cues that were so
important,
so intelligently picked and significant by Aaron Sorkin. And that's one of the things he does so well. And just put in stock music, elevator music. But
speaking of Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah. My last pick won't surprise anyone. It's The West Wing.
Same as my last pick. 7 seasons, 155 episodes, one of the greatest casts ever assembled.
Absolutely. And just the level of quality and the level of, I don't want to get cheesy, but just the inspiration of people trying to do good things. And it went away from that a little bit once the showrunner changed, obviously. But just so many of those episodes just leave you with such a good feeling at the end, which TV tends not to do anymore.
Or at least, some of those episodes can be crushing.
Yeah, that too. I can't remember the name of the episode, but the one where they're trying to save Social Security.
Oh,
yeah. I don't know the name of it, but
and the characters end up working against each other, even though they don't realize it. It could go there too.
Yeah.
But it showed government working.
Yeah.
And how appealing is that right now?
Exactly.
The characters on the show for the most part, you believe they got into politics for the right reasons, and they all have the best of the country at heart. It is so far from your Scandal and House of Cards.
Yeah.
You know,
In a way, it's the exact opposite
yeah.
of those shows. And I feel like Scandal in particular almost was conceived as a response or as an antithesis. You know, I wouldn't want to get into Shonda Rhimes' head that much, but
It's possible. I mean, yeah.
But it does have Josh Malina on it, so
There's the 6 Degrees of Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other great thing about The West Wing is once you've seen every episode, you will recognize every character actor who appears as a guest star on every other show forever.
Because they were so good and so compelling
Yeah.
in that series. That's the way they're frozen into your brain.
Yeah. Well, and there were
actors-
so many guest actors, and they all got good work. They all were given good scripts to work with.
To show how strong it was, we all knew who Rob Lowe was well before The West Wing was ever a thing.
Yeah.
We all know who Martin Sheen was well before that show. But god damn it, if they aren't those characters when we look at them now. I mean, that's how strong the character work was by all the writers, certainly the showrunners, but what impressed me most about The West Wing was its redemption in its final season.
Yeah.
Because after Sorkin left, when he got busted with mushrooms at the airport, that's what ended his run on it, sadly. But that final season it returned to being great. Almost, the dialogue wasn't nearly as sharp. But they went back to doing what they did best. Showing people trying to do good, giving them the motivations of why they wanted to do good. And they gave you really good, clear both sides, right and left.
Yeah.
And one of the most compelling seasons. It wasn't Sorkin dense with his dialogue and story, but the road to the election was just compelling as hell.
Yeah.
I would argue that they presented both sides, the left and the little less left. Because Arnie Vinnick was not a typical Republican.
Well, he's not one of what we associate with Republicans now.
No.
He was,
he's a Republican I'd vote for.
he was a Californian Republican, which there's a bit of a difference there. But
there's a history of that. I mean,
but my one minor beef with West Wing is it's obviously written from a liberal point of view, and so the liberal point of view is presented as right more often than not.
Oh yeah,
yeah, for sure.
So I think if they really wanted to be a little more balanced, but I mean,
but I think you'd end up with a show that lacked focus.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ask Sorkin, and he's given lots of interviews about this, he would say and has said that he didn't care about politics. He had to pick a side to put his characters on because that's how American politics work. And so he just put a lot of earnest people into his scripts who shared those beliefs. And I would like to think that you could do the same show with the same level of earnestness from the other side.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know about. It depends on because the Bartlett White House was more centrist left.
Yeah.
Than it was way left.
Yeah.
So you'd have to do the same thing if you were to hit that with a Republican president and a Republican staff, I think.
Yeah. I think if you went hard right, just as if they'd gone hard left, which I don't really feel like they ever did.
No.
In
fact, sometimes
I
would
think
pull
that would be
themselves
lost.
out of a hard left storyline with a nice bit of dialogue to explain why going to that extreme isn't plausible or you know. So yeah, it was just an absolutely fantastic show. God, I wish it could have just been a thing that went on and on.
Yeah. But I think
Now, it was canceled because of rating. Right? Like, this wasn't them saying, all right, we're going to go 7 seasons.
The writing was on the wall, and they said, we will give you one last season. And then they rolled out the election storyline, and the ratings spiked. And they were like, nope, we're shutting down. We've got other shit to do because you told us this was our last season. So we have committed to other projects. Fuck you, NBC.
And there was really no place else for the show to go.
No, it would have been.
I want to see where Santos's White House went.
But it would have been. It would have been.
Totally would have watched.
It would have been a rehash.
It might have been worth it just to see if Terry Polo's panties showed up again. At some point.
I would like to see a reunion or something.
Yeah, something.
I don't know how they would write it, but they better hurry because Martin ain't getting any younger.
No.
Or maybe that's when they do the reunion. President Bartlett has died. So yeah, that's
our list.
West Wing's the best goddamn show ever made.
Let us know what you think. We'll post this on the interwebs, and please give us your thoughts. Tell us that we're crazy or we're brilliant.
And if you want to give us your thoughts, you're going to have to know how to get a hold of us, which by email, if you use that, would be stayontopic111@gmail.com.
Which James checks religiously.
Yes.
I mean, literally, he burns incense. He plays Ave Maria.
Sacrifices a cat.
My Twitter handle is @postjm9. Bob?
@Bob Ricotta.
And Chris?
@Giltast Trophy.
Good show, folks.
Good times. Play us out, James.
What's next?